Most people on Wegovy or Zepbound increase too fast. Going too fast means increasing before your body has stabilized at the current dose. Side effects do not just get worse, they stack, and that is when people start blaming the drug instead of the timing. On Wegovy or Zepbound, the pace is the variable most people are not tracking. They see the dose schedule and treat it like a minimum. Week 4, move up. Week 8, move up again. The schedule becomes the goal instead of a guideline. But the schedule was built around an average. Your body may need more time than that, and that is not a problem. That is just how adaptation works. The real problem is not the medication, it is the pace. And once the pace gets ahead of your body, everything becomes harder to read. Are the side effects from the dose, or did you just move too fast to adapt? I'm Dr. Kim. This is not medical advice. Consult your doctor. Wegovy and Zepbound work by changing how your body handles appetite and digestion. They delay how fast food moves out of the stomach, so you feel full sooner and stay full longer. They also affect hunger signals in the brain, lowering how often you feel the urge to eat. That combination is powerful. You eat less without forcing it, but it also means your body needs time to adjust. When the dose increases, both of those effects become stronger. Slower digestion, lower appetite, and sometimes more sensitivity to what and when you eat. If that change happens gradually, most people adapt without much trouble. If it happens too quickly, the system becomes unstable. Nausea builds, the stomach empties even slower, and energy intake drops before your body has had time to settle at the new level. This is why dose escalation schedules exist at all. Not to reach the highest dose as fast as possible, but to give your body time to adapt at each step. Faster is not the goal, tolerability is the goal. Now here is where most people get into trouble. They assume that if some is good, more must be better. So they push the schedule, they increase early, or they do not stay long enough at a lower dose to stabilize. The scale might drop faster at first, but the cost shows up later. There are 3 patterns that show up when the pace is too fast. They look different, but they all come from the same mistake, moving before stabilizing. The first is the stacking symptoms pattern. Nausea does not fully resolve before the next increase. Fatigue builds instead of stabilizing. Appetite drops further, but not in a controlled way. Each new dose adds pressure to a system that never had a chance to settle. Eating becomes inconsistent, and hydration often falls behind. The second is the false success pattern. Weight drops quickly, and that looks like the plan is working. But part of that drop comes from undereating and fluid shifts. Fluid shifts means the body rapidly loses water when calorie intake drops sharply. That is not fat loss. Here is the uncomfortable truth, and most people only realize this after a difficult stretch. Faster escalation often leads to worse long-term results, not because the drug fails, but because people cannot stay on it long enough for it to work. The third pattern is the most important one. Call it the adaptation failure pattern. The body never gets a stable period at any dose, so instead of adapting, it keeps reacting. Every increase feels worse than expected, and people start blaming the medication. In most of these cases, the pacing was the problem all along. Here is the part most people only figure out after stopping. Consistency matters more than speed. These drugs work over months, not days. Skip enough doses, delay enough injections, or stop entirely, and the effect becomes much less predictable. Most people who stop early believe the medication failed them. In many cases, the pacing failed them. Here is what actually determines the right pace. It is not the calendar alone, it is how your body responds between increases. The key question is not when your next dose change is scheduled. The better question is whether you are stable at this dose. Now, what actually matters most for long-term results? Not the highest dose, not the fastest schedule. What matters is staying on the medication consistently while eating enough to support fat loss, not just weight loss. Those are different things. Weight loss includes fat, muscle, and water. Fat loss is the goal most people actually have. That requires enough protein and enough stability for the body to adapt rather than keep reacting. Stable means a few specific things. Side effects are present but manageable. Eating is consistent enough to meet basic nutrition needs. Energy levels are not steadily declining. Daily function feels close enough to normal to maintain your routine. All of those need to be true before moving up. Even one clearly off is a signal worth taking seriously. A reasonable question is how long to stay at each dose before moving up. Most protocols suggest at least 4 weeks at a given level. But that number assumes your side effects have settled, your eating has stabilized, and you feel functional. If that has not happened by week 4, staying longer is often the better call. There is no prize for moving faster than your body can handle. There is another layer most people miss. When you increase too quickly, separating cause and effect becomes difficult. Is the nausea from the dose? Is it from not eating enough? Is it from dehydration? Once everything changes at once, the signal gets noisy, and that leads to the wrong adjustments. People reduce food even more, thinking it will help nausea, or they skip meals entirely. That can briefly reduce symptoms, but it creates a different problem. The body ends up underfueled, while the medication is already suppressing appetite. A slower pace gives the body time to adjust. It gives the side effects time to settle. And it gives the eating pattern time to stabilize before the next dose change. That is what makes results last. So how do you know when to pause or reconsider the pace? If nausea is interfering with regular eating, if dizziness or weakness is becoming frequent, if hydration is inconsistent, or if daily function is clearly worse after a dose increase, those are situations where slowing down often makes more sense than pushing forward. Side effects mild and improving, eating patterns holding steady, those are signs that moving forward may be reasonable. The difference is not the dose, it is how the body is responding to it. So here is the takeaway. Faster is not better with these medications. The right pace is the one your body can actually adapt to. The plan looking good on paper means nothing if it feels worse in real life. That is usually a sign it is moving too fast. The goal is not the highest dose. The goal is to stay on the medication long enough and stable enough for it to work. Medicine simplified. That's what this channel does. If you want more, hit subscribe. This is not medical advice. Consult your doctor.